Hi everyone! Today we're going to cook spaghetti sauce and we're going to put those in jars like this. These do not need to be in the freezer or anything like that. You can store that in your locker, and it's really nice because when you need spaghetti sauce you just pour in and heat and that's it. So this format also is very convenient because it's a one person portion. So you pick one jar per person. So we'll prepare a bunch here using the pressure canner here, or it's a Presto. That's the best way of doing that, to make sure that there's no bacteria or anything like that. So if you don't want to put in a jar, you can also freeze the same recipe. Put that in pots and in the freezer, that's fine. Just cook the sauce like half an hour or 45 minutes, something like that, until the vegetables are tender. So, what are we gonna need? All the ingredients. We'll need a bunch of vegetables, lentils, and vegetable broth, olives, if you like those. It's very nice with the tomato sauce. We'll start with fresh tomatoes. If you don't have fresh tomatoes, you can use diced tomatoes in cans, in 28 ounces cans, like standards. Just use 2. For one recipe we use 6. If you saw the ingredients on the list, it's for one recipe. To fill up all our jars and our pressure canner, we'll need to do this same recipe 4 times. So list of vegetables, from the list you can use vegetable that you prefer, it doesn't matter. That's what I propose. And the recipe is vegan, of course. That's why we use lentils, and no need to put in meat, no oil, no fat whatsoever. So it's a really healthy sauce. We'll have, of course, spices on the list, and we need jars, of course. It's about 20 jars that's going to fill our pressure can. We'll need a blender, especially if we have fresh tomatoes. We won't peel the tomatoes, anything like that. We want to do something very simple, so just blend that with some water, and that's it. Pour in the pot. So we'll need a pot, and we'll need the instruments for the canning. So a jar extractor to pick the jar when they're very hot, and this is used to pick our lids, because we'll need to heat them, so just not to burn our hands, we just pick that. There's a magnet at the bottom. And of course knives and a funnel to put our stuff inside without dirtying and doing any mess. And that's about it. So let's start. First thing is going to be to crush those tomatoes into our blender. So the first thing we do is prepare our tomatoes. So we cut those as dices, whatever. We're gonna put that into our blender. Because of the size of the blender, what I do is to cut 3 tomatoes, and I do this 2 times, and I put half the water in it. I have to put water in it, otherwise nothing's gonna happen. So let's cut a second tomato. You can remove the top if you want. Grossly cut in little dices, like this, as long as it's not too big pieces, so the blender can work. And a third one. So 3 tomatoes with half the water, 3/4 of a cup. So that's about 1 can. If you use diced tomatoes in a can, it's about the same thing. And even if you use cans, you should put that in a blender, so it's gonna create a mushed, like tomatoes sauce. So very important, when you blend your tomatoes, you have to dance, otherwise recipe is not going to work. And there you go. Simple as that. We pour that into our pot. We do this twice, and that's going to be all the ingredients for the recipe that we have on the list. And I remind you, you need to do that 4 times to fill up your pressure canner. So our tomatoes are crushed. So what we do now is add the other ingredients. So start with lentils, whatever, any ingredient. So half cup of green lentils, half cup of crushed red lentils. That's for texture. It's gonna dissolve and just make it a little more thick, a little thicker. All our vegetables, cut in little pieces. And all the spices and everything. So we add everything in there, and you repeat the recipe 4 times. We're going to fill up like our pot. After that, it's going to be heated, and we'll go and do the sterilization. So that's the result of 1 recipe. So as you can see, we'll do 3 times more, and don't forget to stir when you start to heat it up. Don't go too fast, like medium, and heat up slowly. The goal is to make it hot. Everything has to be hot for the sterilization step, so we won't go too fast. As you can see, my pot is pretty full. So I made 3.5 of my recipe. Depends on the number of veggies, size of veggies, and how you fill up your blender and everything. So it's 3 to 4 times the recipe. The bottom line is to fill up your pot, your 10 quarts pot. If you have a bigger pot, might be a good idea also. But we want to fill our pressure canner as much as possible. And start to heat it at medium, and don't forget to stir regularly so it doesn't stick. And we're gonna just warm it up just to the boiling point. After that, we're gonna put it in the jars. So now we're gonna put our sauce in the jars, and after that we're gonna sterilize those using our pressure canner. So how does it work? Pay attention here, folks, because this is the critical part. So first thing, it's a presto, right? So first thing, we take off the little weight and we remove the top. We have to put some water inside. It doesn't have to be much, like 1 inch is plenty. The goal is to have enough water for the whole cycle. It doesn't need to cover the jars at all. So we will remove this. At the bottom you need this, it comes with it. The jars won't touch the bottom of the cooker. So let's put some water. Could be cold, warm, doesn't matter. We're gonna heat it up on the stove. So just use your finger, like the first little piece of your finger, to know how much water you need to put in. So should be enough. Just like this here, water. I'm gonna warm it up a little bit, so like half or 6 on the scale. Just make sure that everything is hot. You need to warm up your jars. The jars, you need to warm them up. You need to warm up the lids. warm up the water and the sauce. Everything is hot, everything is warm, so there's no shock, there's no thermal shock, so you won't like break the glass. So we take each jar, take off the lid, and then put the lid in a small pot with like an inch or even less water in it. It's just, the goal is to warm them up. So I'm gonna put that here and just put that on the stove later just to sit. We put the jars on a towel, a metal towel here, and we're gonna warm the pots in the stove. So just warm your stove like at 200 degrees, it's fine, it doesn't have to be very, very hot, just make sure that everything is hot. So I'm putting the jars into the stove, and why do I use a circular towel? You'll understand later. It's quicker to fill up our jars this way. So we put it in the stove for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, just make sure that they are hot. Okay, now we're gonna put the sauce into the jars. Let's see, let's take the jars out of the oven. Be careful, it's hot. And we put the next batch in the oven while we're filling up these. We're gonna have more jars ready later. So we put everything close, so we don't make a mess. We use our funnel and put the sauce into jars. The important thing here is to leave a space at the top of each jar, about an inch. You need space because otherwise it may like overflow, and when it sterilizes it boils inside and it needs space for the gas. So you see, because it's round, I can turn it around and ready for the next one. So I fill the next one. So again, your sauce doesn't need to be ready to be cooked. It's gonna boil in the sterilization and all the veggies will be perfect. So let's see. Next one, turn again. If you don't want to sterilize, if you want to freeze the sauce, just let the sauce steer at low, like for 30-45 minutes, something like that, until your veggies are tender and should be ready by then. So when your jars are full, first thing you have to clean the border, the edge, with a clean cloth, a little water, even vinegar. Make sure that there's no food here on top of your jars. When it's clean, you pick your wand, take it out of the hot water. It's not boiling, but just make sure that everything is hot. Put it on top of your jar and turn it. So it's just touching, and you turn like 1/8 of a turn, just to make it a little tight, but not too tight, because when it's going to sterilize, it's going to boil inside and the gas and vapor needs to get out. So not too tight, just like it touching, and then 1/8 more, like just a little bit more. And we put it into our pressure canner. The water is hot in there, not boiling, but hot. So you fill up all the jars and put it in the pressure can. Quick word about the lids. It's recommended to always use new ones. You can purchase those like individually in the little boxes. But myself, I reuse the same ones if they're not like bent or anything like that. Just be careful when you open it. Just very lightly, not to bend it or damage it. If it's fine, it's okay. Myself, I reuse that like 2 or 3 times the same one, but the recommendation is to use new ones. So we put our jars inside our pressure canner and the bottom is full. So personally I put something in between the second level. You can purchase another one that the same as it was at the bottom, or like this one here, it's okay. As long as there's something so the jars are more stable on top of each other. When you fill up the second level, make sure that you don't put anything right beside this lock here. Make a little mark. It's because the valve is going to be right here and it needs space here to work properly. So don't put any jar right there. Put two jars right beside the mark here. Make sure that there's space for the valve. Okay, all our jars are in the pressure canner. Next step, we're gonna put the lid on. So, carefully. Turn, and that's it. So we don't put the little weight where it's here. The weight here, we don't put it right now. What we're gonna do is to put our stove higher, the fire like almost full, and wait until it boils. It has to boil 10 minutes. So we can hear the water boiling inside, and we see the vapor and some droplets in the little hole here. So we know it's boiling. So we can take down the heat a little bit, like leave it at half, and put your timer 10 minutes. So our time's up, 10 minutes passed. So we set the timer. Now what we're gonna do is to put our little weight, it's called a pressure regulator, on top of the hole here. So we'll increase the heat almost maximum, like 8-9, to increase the pressure. And we'll take a look at the gauge here. Has to come up, and you see the valve I was talking about. The valve will close up and seal the pressure inside the cooker. So when the valve is up, the pressure will climb and we will start the sterilization. The time required for sterilization depends on the size of your jars. In this case, it's 45 minutes I'm gonna do. If there were meat inside, the time would be larger. If the jars are bigger, the time will be higher also. So make sure that you verify the time in your manual. You see now the valve is up and the gauge is gonna show us the pressure. So what we're going to do, the goal is to have it between 11 and 15, no more than 15. If it goes higher, the pressure regulator will start to shake like this and release the pressure. So there's no danger, but we'll try to remain between 11 and below 15. So the heat is high and we see the pressure climbing. When we'll get close to 10, we'll start diminishing the heat slowly, take it down step by step, not too quick. We have to be very careful and verify the pressure. The pressure is in pound per square inch. So we reached the 11 pound per square inch. So I'm gonna reduce the fire, the heat, like put it half, like 5. Don't reduce too quickly because the pressure might go down 10 and you have to restart your timer. Now we put the timer at 45 minutes. Pressure has to remain between 11 and 15 for 45 minutes. We had a little leftover, the sauce not fitting in the jar. So all the jars are full and we had leftover of the sauce. And what I'm gonna do is just make boil it for 30-45 minutes until everything is tender, all the veggies are tender. And I can use it right away or freeze it or whatever, or keep it for another batch. If I have enough tomatoes and ingredients, I could have done another batch and waited. As you can see, we are 38 minutes left to do, so the pressure is still raising a little bit, so I can go ahead and reduce my heat a little bit. I'm gonna put it at 4. Reduce really slowly. If you reduce too quickly, you may lose your pressure and have to start over your timer. 34 minutes to go. Pressure is still rising, so I'm gonna reduce my heat even more. 3. Down to 3. 20 minutes to go. We see the pressure is still a little high, so we can reduce the heat even more. I'm gonna put it like 2.5. Slowly. Well, time's up. So now I'm gonna stop the timer, stop the heat, and I'm gonna take off the pressure canner from the heat element. So be careful, it's very heavy, and put it on, not on a countertop. Protect your countertop with a plank or whatever, something. So be very careful, slowly, like this. Now we have to leave it to cool by itself. Don't touch anything. Let it cool by itself, and when the pressure goes to 0 and the valves goes down, then we're going to be able to open the lid and take the jar out. So after half an hour or so, pressure is down, 0. We still have to wait until the valve goes down by itself. Don't push anything, don't touch anything. Why is the pressure canner so efficient? It's because with the pressure, temperature inside the food temperature goes higher than the point of boiling. So that's why it kills more bacteria. So some people use just boiling water for acid food, like just tomatoes or acid fruit. But if you want to do some soup or anything like that, if you add ingredients, as we've done today, you need to use the pressure canner. Much safer. So the valve is now down. Perfect. So we can open the lid and take the jar out. And put them in a surface so they can cool. Alright, now first thing I'm gonna remove the pressure stabilizer or little weight here and open the lid. When you want to remove it, don't open it so you get all the vapor in your face. It's very hot, so open it away from your face like this. It's hot. Put it in a secure place, and now we can take out all the jars and put it on a safe surface. Make sure to use the extractor because these jars are really hot. So we're gonna put those jars on the counter. Make sure you protect because you don't want to damage your countertop. And leave a little space between each jar, like an inch, so air can flow between them. So we pick one jar at a time. Put it carefully on your towel or whatever surface. Could be wood, like a wood, whatever. So be careful, and we'll leave space between each. When it's cooled down, I'm going to write on the lid the date, because you can store it and you can consume them, like it's recommended up to 1 year, but some people keep these years and years. shouldn't be a problem. It's like food in a can, it's the same thing. So very convenient. Really important to make sure that these jars are sealed. The lid must like pop, you hear the sound pop, and then it's like bent a little bit from by the pressure in the jar. If after like an hour the pressure is not yet stabilized and you still feel that you can move the lid around a little bit up and down, it means that the seal is not correct, so just put it in the fridge. If the lid is really down like this, it's perfect. Put it away and you can consume later. So look at that. Wow. So enjoy, and if you have any questions, just ask. Thank you.